Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm Rosie's friend. I rather like Doctor Who, which is why I'm here.
You are the most well-educated with old Who, classic Who, that I know. You love Who, and I love Who, and so we're going to talk about it. You're not even wearing your scarf. Where's the scarf?
It's over there. Just first.
One of your pet peeves is when people compare Moffat and Russell.
It's not quite that. It's when... Well, I think you can. You can compare all the producers. But my pet peeve is when people get into specific detail on, like, the RTD era versus the Moffat era, and then completely, like, and then Classic Who is like this. Because it ran for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super knowledgeable about the differences between the different producers and when they changed.
In Classic Who.
Yeah, in Classic Who, and also in Classic Who, the script editor and the producer were two different people. When in my research I found, like, and this is when after Talons of Wang Chiang, and then the producer changed, and after Horror of Fang Rock, you can really tell, like, the tone does shift. Since we're not living in the time, there's not the whole news media hype about when people change and whatnot. But it really does, like, the 7th Doctor has much in common with the 1st Doctor as, like, the 11th does with the 7th, and actually I think the 11th Doctor has more in common with the 7th Doctor than the 7th does with the 1st. But, yeah, I mean, it ran for 26 years, you have so many actors, you have so many producers, you have so many writers, and each of them... Like, there's a lot of footage, and that's why people don't watch it. But you can't just write it all off as, like, this is how Classic Who was.
Well, okay, so your pet peeve is not necessarily Moffat versus Russell. It's Moffat versus Russell ignoring just blanket statement old Doctor Who.
Yes.
Okay. But you have to admit that there is a distinct difference between the eras.
Yes.
In the revamp. Like,
yes,
if we focus on the revamp and just we can talk about old Who later. But...
Especially since you had the Doctor change at the same time as the producer.
Yeah.
Doctor, companions, and producer. And the Doctor and companion switch hasn't changed. It hasn't been like that since, I guess, the 9th Doctor was a whole change, and then, but, like, the 3rd Doctor was the last time there was a on-screen regeneration with a new companion at the same time. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
That doesn't usually happen.
Mm-hmm. But even the writing style.
Yeah.
Because even if they had kept Tennant, I think that Moffat would have tried to insert his own style into the writing of the plot and
well, of course
characters.
He's going to.
Yeah, I know. But, like, it would still be evident, even if there wasn't a complete revamp of the Doctor and Companion. So what are some differences that you see between Moffat and Russell?
Moffat's a lot more convoluted than RTD Davis ever was. Whether it's a good or bad thing... It depends. I really like season 5. There are a lot of episodes I really like in season 6. However, the overall story arc of series 6 I'm not super fond of.
And 7.
And 7. Well, the first half of season 7 is okay. I like Clara. I don't like the Clara mystery.
Yeah. See, I like her as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I could be friends with her, but...
The Victorian Clara was so much more interesting.
She really was.
I still want to know more about her.
Yeah, so the basic difference that I see between Moffat versus Russell, like we've touched on, but we haven't really put it into words, is Moffat focuses more on the complex timeline, like the more complex plots, rather than character development.
Yes.
And characters as themselves. So instead of putting characters into plots, he puts plots, and then there happen to be characters. He makes plots, and then they're just characters kind of... I mean, there are... Like,
Amy got Amy's family back, and then, like, we never saw
them
again.
Like, that's why I really liked Rose, because she had a life outside of...
Yeah.
She had her mom, she had Mickey, although he was super annoying until he grew up.
But I think that's valid.
It is. That's a real person.
Yeah.
He was a person. Like, I felt like I knew him. And so she had a life outside of the Doctor and the TARDIS. She had a life before and a life after, although that was a little...
I would say Martha is a bit better with the...
Martha's good. Like, she has a complete family.
She walks out and she goes...
Yeah.
I actually love Martha a lot. I think she's one of the strongest companions.
But yeah, Martha's super strong. And I get sad when people don't like her.
She goes through so much crap because of him.
Yeah.
And it's like... I love the character of Martha. The timing was just bad because she's rebound for Rose, and he knows she's rebound, and she knows she's rebound, and that's just, it was never gonna work out well.
That's why it took me a while to get used to her, and I learned to love her while rewatching the show. But the first time I watched it, I was like, I just want Rose back, because and then
you're not used to the idea of like
a different.
You're not used to the idea of all the characters change all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back, I appreciate the 9th Doctor season a lot more that I've watched more Doctor Who, especially since right off the bat it just starts as a deconstruction of a lot of the stuff that I'm going to generalize now, even though I said that I wouldn't, that happens in Classic Who, because you don't have a lot of, you don't see the companions' families. A lot of them are orphans, actually, or they get kidnapped or whatever, and you don't see the first one. I think the first family member of one of them that we meet that doesn't like die right off in the first episode, because a lot of them have that, like they have the family member or father or brother and then they die, and that's why they go along with the Doctor, was Tegan's grandfather in The Awakening, who's just, I could go into that but I won't, but I think the first time it's really, I could be wrong about this, I mean Ian and Barbara have been gone for 2 years, so that affects something, but with Ace, she actually wound up on a different planet, not because of the Doctor, but then she, in Survival, she comes back to her hometown, and there's the whole thing of like everyone thought she was dead because she'd been gone for like 2 years. So that's, you kind of get touch on that with Ace as kind of the pre-runner to Modern Companions, but Rose just like right off the bat starts deconstructing like the Doctor
from a different perspective.
From a different perspective.
Yeah.
Like the whole
because they're putting the audience in Rose's shoes as opposed to always sort of,
not even that.
Well,
just like some of the events that happen, like the Doctor going in and like just the 9th Doctor season, like on the satellite and whatnot, like where he goes in and just kind of like leaves stuff, and then like stuff gets worse because he didn't deal with it. But like that would happen all the time. Like he just goes in and does stuff and then leaves, which that's one of the things about the Moffat era, is it's super deconstructing of like that concept. And while I think it's important that it should be touched on, it's almost the point it's like, can we have the fun back? Like, it's deconstructing it to the point where I'm like, you have to reconstruct it, otherwise,
there's
like,
not
what's
going to be
the
anything
point?
left.
Yeah, there's almost nothing left.
Oh, that's a question I have for you, because there is a big whoop-to-do about regenerations, especially Tennant's regeneration, because they say that his was purpostly emotionally manipulative by Russell, because Russell wanted the audience to feel like wanted them to feel sad for the entire run ending, like the whole thing was ending. Do you think that's a valid criticism, or do you think that Tennant's regeneration is a part of Tennant's character?
I think it's very in character for him. However, at the same time, I do think it set people up to be mad at Matt Smith.
Yeah.
It did. Like, it's hard. He was basically, I don't want to go, and then we have Matt Smith. So, like, especially since the 10th Doctor is a lot of people's favorites, and it's a lot of people's Doctor, you're going to be mad at him then. I think he's done a fine job of following up.
Yeah, no, I think that Matt Smith as an actor is incredible. Like, I think he does a great job.
Though I think every single Doctor, it's a hard act to follow.
It really is. But I think that for the standards that, because Tennant was my Doctor, because I had such high expectations, I was really surprised that Matt Smith was able to come into that, and I was really happy with that too. I love the 11th Hour a lot. That's a great episode. One of my
favorite Matt Smith episodes.
Yeah, that's a great one. But I will defend the Tennant regeneration, because I do think it's in character.
It's really in character.
It really is, because he is more he addresses his emotions, and
it's like this fatal, like he has this like death wish almost the entire time, but when it finally comes down to it, he's like, die.
Yeah, I think that it's realistic for him, although I will agree that it did set up Matt Smith on a harder note to follow, because it was so emotional. Yeah.
I feel like the regenerations and companions leaving just keep getting more and more dramatic because they have to top each other.
I don't think that's the way it should be.